I'm about to touch down in Jabalpur after a journey of 10 hours. After setting off from Berlin, I'm now in the heart of India. My flight released tons of CO2 on the way here. But I've discovered that through a simple donation, emissions of the greenhouse gas can be reduced locally. I've given 120 euros to a German organization called Atmosphere, and I want to know what exactly happens with my money. Rahul Rai is the Atmosphere partner for the area and gives me an idea of what his project is all about.
In rural areas of India, the majority of the population use mud stoves, which consumes lots of fuel wood and produces lots of smoke. So it is harmful for the environment and as well as for the user. So our intention is to give better stoves.
I'm keen to find out how the new stoves work, so I set off for a small village. It's where 22 families tested out what are called improved cook stoves over the course of a year.
See, this is the passageway, this is the corn you can see, and now we are going to the kitchen. This is kitchen.
There it is, pretty unspectacular. But this little stove uses around a quarter less wood than traditional stoves. Rahul asks how well it's working. The new stove heats the food faster, she says. They don't have to gather as much wood for it. And in summer they can take the stove outdoors. She adds that one of the benefits of the stove is that it doesn't give off too much smoke. But the fact that it helps reduce CO2 emissions plays no role for her at all. Next door there's a school that uses the new stove too. This is what a conventional stove looks like. The school lunch is being prepared. The new metal device actually costs 10 euros. But with donations like mine, the price drops to just €1.50. That's a daily wage for the families here. But this old woman tells me it's not too expensive. They all need chapatis and rice. She says she's got this kind of stove at home and is very happy with it. The teacher says the project helps to ensure the future of the children in the village. 70% of the people living in the countryside use the old stoves. I begin to understand what's at stake here. The teacher tells me that when he arrived here 15 years ago, the area was covered in forests. Now people have to walk for 8 kilometers to find enough wood. But they still don't understand that they have to take care of the trees. He says the trees that are still standing are only there because fruit is growing on them. The school reduces annual CO2 emissions by a ton using the new stove. My return flight to India will have released 5 tons of CO2, and that's per passenger, This means the school will have to use the stove for 5 years in order to offset my flight. Raoul wants to show me the stove factory in Jabalpur. He says that taller stoves could save up to 40% on timber, but that the villagers do the cooking while sitting down.
Do palleting as much as possible. Consider their expectations. Try to change the stove or modify the stoves according to their needs, and then you will find it is acceptable. That is the key to success of any cook stove program.
And because the stove is produced here, it's not just cheap, it creates jobs too. This worker tells me that the stove production has made a big difference to him. Normally he would earn around €7 a day, making metal cabinets. But now he gets €11.50. Later in the evening, Raoul shows me just what effect climate change has had on his region. We walk to the Narmada River. It's the second holiest in India. Even after a lot of rain this summer, the water level is only half as high as normal. I begin to wonder why it's developing countries that are hosting carbon offsetting projects like this.
Frankly speaking, it is bizarre that you can do whatever you want and you just pay some money just to cover up your wrong deeds. But when you look at from economic point of view, then it makes sense to offset the carbon where it is cheapest.
On my way back to Germany, I have a stopover in Delhi. Here, along the banks of the river Yamuna, environmentalists have been doing their part to protect Mother Nature. Among them is Ravi Agarwal, director of the Toxic Link organization. He sees a danger in donations landing in climate projects that already exist, and so no additional CO2 would be offset.
From the grass, because in the grass you don't have all these kinds of different flora and fauna. So one has to be a little cautious, a little skeptic about it, and saying you haven't really done enough. You have to do more. So you should still write a letter to the senator, the local politician, and do the little political action you're supposed to be doing. Raise your voice. You can't sit back, enjoy your airline seat, and saying, I've done my bit, and the world will get taken care of. It may not be so.
I'm on my way back to Berlin. Having learned about the project in India, I can now imagine making a donation to help the environment on my next holiday.